Welcome. I'm Bernice Ross, the CEO and president of BrokerAgeUp and realestatecoach.com.
And my name is Greg McDaniel. I'm the co-host and co-founder of the wildly famous and successful podcast, Real Estate Uncensored. But today, Bernice and I are bringing you Real Estate Coach Uncensored.
Well, Greg, WomanUP just wrapped up literally an hour ago, and we have a fantastic session for you called How to Reset Your Mindset for Success. And this is the best advice from the top women in the industry about what they've done. And these women are like people like Sherry Chris, Tammy Bonell, people who are running big companies, successful independent brokers, agents who are running large teams. But what they all have in common is their, this mindset of success. So we're going to be sharing what they have talked about over the last 3 days. So let's begin by talking about the blessing and the curse of the pandemic. First of all, you are being forced to change your mindset, whether you like it or not. The pandemic has disrupted everything. We had to start thinking about things in a very different way. So Jennifer Berman, who very good friend that we all love, you've seen her on the stage at Real Estate Connect many times. And this is what she had to say. You have to begin by asking 3 questions. The first one is, what is your intent? Okay. The second is, what is your focus? And then what is your purpose for you and for your life? Now, Greg, what do those mean to you as you listen to those 3 questions? How would you be answering them?
I probably what I would go after first, Bernice, is, what is your intent? I mean, what is your intention for the day? What's your intention for the week, the month, the year, your business, kind of where you want to go? Do you want to do 2 homes a month, 1 home a month? Do you want to do 100 homes a month? What's that intent, right? Then you go and you take a look at your focus. Where am I going to focus in on to really get to where I'm intending to go? It's kind of like building a business plan. You can't get in your boat and start driving and not have a rudder. It's not going to end up very well for you. So you got to have a focus. And first you have to have the intent. And then I love the question of, what's the purpose for you and your life? Where do you want to be? What's the reason you're grinding this out? Are you doing it because you love money? Are you doing it because you like to help people? Are you doing this because you need to offset your spouse's income? Are you doing it because you're bored? What's the purpose for you? And then for your life, where do you want this to go? Do you want to be a top agent? Do you want to just, feed your shoe habit, your vacation habit, your fine dining habit? What is that going to look like for you? Identifying those 3 questions will clarify substantially, which direction you need to go, who you need to be around, what kind of products you need to use. So I love what Jennifer led with that.
Well, I want to take it back to some things that you said, because one of the clear messages from WomanUP was, if you don't love what you're doing, you need to find something else, because surviving through the pandemic and going forward into all the changes that are coming, we're not going back to the way things were, ladies and gentlemen. Virtual meetings and doing things differently, those things are here to stay. So the piece here is, if you don't love what you are doing, find something that you love. And if real estate is not it, then find something else. One of the things Jen talked about was having clarity about who you want to attract. And this is a coaching principle that I've worked with since the late 1990s. If you want to take a look at where, of how attraction is working in your life, look at your clients. They mirror who you are. Look at the people in your life. And if you don't like some of the clients you're attracting, you've got 1 of 2 issues are going on there. Number 1 is that they reflect what's going on in your life. And I heard this again, if you have crazy, if you have toxic in your life, you're going to attract that. And if you have great people that you support and they support you, that's what you're going to continue to attract.
Wow, that's powerful, because you know what, I'm experiencing that firsthand in my own personal life, Bernice. I'm having people such as yourself and some other individuals that are coming around me, and I'm being able to run with them and do incredible things. It's because I've put positive, joy, light, bright energy out into the universe, helped a lot of people at no cost. And so things are coming back to me. And I see a lot of folks, like you're talking about, that they have a negative, cynical mindset on a consistent basis. Then they find a way and a reason to keep feeding that into their life, and they wonder why it's still there. And it's because they're the root cause for it. It's a fascinating, experiment to run on yourself.
Well, I really want a pyramid on this because one of the things Jennifer talked about was also having clarity about what you do on each of the social media platforms. And she
Oh,
says today, LinkedIn is all business. And even for the millennials, a lot of them are off of Facebook now. They're on Instagram and other places. But what's interesting, she says, Jennifer Berman, actually, she managed the Hilton Highland office in Beverly Hills. And this is the office that does the 100 to $200 million, those multi-million
mm,
dollar deals. And she also was the person who essentially set up much of the millionaire real estate shows on TV. So those people that are on those shows, or many of them she's worked with personally for years. And one of the things that's really an issue right now, especially given the political environment and what's out there, she says you can spend 20 years building your reputation and you can blow it with a single social media post. This
mm,
is not the time in this environment. She says, stay out of Facebook and Twitter with those kinds of posts. Stay off the social media, period, for those kinds of posts, because screaming against someone only will destroy your business. And you can take it down and you say you didn't mean it, but the damage is done. You really do not want to face those kinds of negative consequences because, whether Donald Trump is elected in this election or whether he's out in 4 years, the people you're working with, the people that see you in your community are going to be there long after he is president. So you
mm.
want to be thinking long-term instead of short-term. And Jen knows because she had to go in and clean up stuff that these people got themselves into from being, making one stupid decision, which, cost them their places on the show. So it's that bad.
Ah, there's a thing that, my father's Terry McDaniel's been doing real estate for 49 years. And I remember back when I was in high school, everyone has their opinion about politics, right? And I asked my parents, well, are you guys in a, because bumper stickers were the social media vehicle back in the day. And they said, Greg, we will never put a bumper sticker on our car talking about the candidate that we like. And I said, well, why not? You like this individual. And they said, because it doesn't matter. That's not where business belongs. And it is a very true thing. Religion, politics, a few other topics, those really need to be kept to your personal friends and family and your confidants, because does it really matter if your client is leaning the opposite direction than you are? Does it really matter? Because you know what, they still have a want, need, or desire. You still have an obligation to fulfill that and be a professional and help them through a transition in their life. And I bet you anything, guys, they're still wonderful people even if they don't share your beliefs. So just keep that to yourself. It can really damage your business career. I've seen it happen to people.
People come to you for certain things. If you feel so strongly about your position that you cannot represent them, then, you make that decision for yourself. Now, I also want to talk about this notion. Leslie Everett raised this, and she says, you need to build on your strengths, but she says we need to have someone else who can help us see from the outside kind of what our mindset is and what our strengths are. And I love this quote from her. She says, you can't see the label from the inside of the bottle.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, I thought that was a great quote. It was one of my favorite quotes from the conference because it really gets to it. And the thing with so many women talked about this, they don't see their own strengths, because when you have what is known as unconscious competence, it's something that you do easily. It doesn't seem like it's a big deal to you, but it's a big deal to someone else, and Greg and I have joked back and forth, he's got dyslexia. I love to write and read. So he's not going to be reading, 50 or 60 books a year. You will listen to them, but
Yeah.
he's not going to be reading them. And that's, that's just recognizing your strengths and then working around that. And one of the things she talks about is that people don't care particularly how you get to something, as long as it's legal, of course, but they care about you solving their problems and caring about the issues that they're facing. And Kendall Bonner said this. She says, how you make people feel is what gets them to talk about you. And
Hmm.
Greg, I know you've got some examples of this where you've had people talk about some of the things that you've done.
Yeah, I just got off a call with a wonderful woman. Her name is Karen. She's a broker at a brokerage, and she's found my videos, and she just loved the way I communicated on them. And she's like, Greg, you have to come speak to my like 300 or 400 agents. And I said, okay, no problem. I will do it 100%. What comes easy to me like is doing video, doing audio, coming up on the fly with content that I can riff on for 15 to 30 minutes. But like if I was to reverse that and I had to, Bernice is like, Greg, you have to go write this and be grammatically correct in your writing. I would just say, well, that's going to be a tough road to hoe because that's just not going to happen.
And create the PowerPoints.
Yeah, and create the PowerPoints. That's just not going to happen for me. I would go to someone like Bernice or someone that I could hire and say, this is what I need to do. How much is it going to take? They do it. I then record it, all live with a personality, and it works out well. So yeah, a lot of folks have mentioned to me that, I'm good at one thing, but definitely don't have me writing something. It looks like a third grader with Crayolas. It's not good.
Well, I want to spin that back around because what you're talking about is you connected with this woman by who you are. Right. And again, you also, what she heard something in what you said that, is a solution to a challenge that she is facing with her agents. Mm-hmm. So the question becomes is what value can you bring? You want to start creating a value mindset where you're focused on the value to the customer, to your clients. And I love what Tammy Bonnell, the CEO of Exit Realty, says about this. 3 words, value equals income.
Yeah, I love
value
that saying.
Equals income. Now, I love this next quote, and I didn't write down who said it, but they were having a conversation about mindset, and it may have been Vanessa Bergmark. This sounds like she would have said it's like you sit down and eat a whole box of Twinkies, and have you fallen prey to a Twinkie mindset. I love that, the Twinkie mindset. That is so perfect. What are you letting in? What messages no longer support you? And Greg, let me just ask you, in your own case, what are some of the messages that you may have had before the pandemic that really don't apply anymore?
One of the things I used to coach and train on was doing heavy door knocking, heavy open houses, in-person, face-to-face meetings, a ton, networking in at a local bar, restaurant. And so those messages aren't resonating with people because people are in a state of fear and uncertainty at this moment. So we have to pivot and say, okay, how can we do this on a digital basis? How can we do this different? How can I reinvent myself? And it's all about finding the holes and plugging them with a new solution, learning a new skill set or a new technology, taking the word I can't and turn it into I can, because when you shift your mindset and at any point in time, you can look at one thing and say, gosh, I can't do this. And then you can say, well, I'm choosing not to do this, but I can physically do this. I can physically make the calls. I can physically reach out via email. I can shoot my past clients a text. I can fill in the blank. And it's just shifting that mindset a little bit. And I found that to be immensely helpful, especially during the pandemic time. And this is the thing. This is the greatest opportunity for all of us to really explore who we can become. That stifled part of our life and that we were afraid to go into, or were, just fearful of going into, or just didn't want to do it because we didn't want to learn something because we liked what we were doing. You can shift your business effectively and efficiently by changing your mindset from I can't to I can. That's simple.
And again, it's getting rid of the Twinkies,
Getting rid of Twinkies.
Like
No Twinkies.
You're feeling upset and you eat a box of Twinkies and you start gaining weight. And, it's just, and I love that as a metaphor. But one of the things that came up in this discussion about mindset is that instead of focusing on what's wrong or how the pandemic's done this or that or the other, you talked about, first of all, taking very simple, very simple steps, that, it doesn't have to be, it can be something small. So if people are in fear, you want to provide security. You want to talk about things being safe. You want to be focused on what is their anxiety? How can you help them? It's stressful buying a house. It always has been, but in this time, it's more stressful than ever. I don't ever recall a time that was as difficult as this, for the entire country at the same time. And one of the things I heard that, the way your brain works, there's this area called Broca's Area 10. And it determines, it's in the reticular activating system. Okay. And what the neuroscientists call it, it has a nickname, it's called Mother, but Mother can only do one thing at a time. In other words, there is, your brain's like a computer in the sense that you can only get one process done, it's essentially one at a time. So what happens is when you focus on the positive, there's no room for the negative because Mother can process only one thing at a time. So one of the things that that impacts your mindset is whether or not you have a business plan. And we know business plans are tied to having success. And this came up in several discussions, and I thought it was really an excellent point, is that you don't need to change who you are. You may need to change what you're doing. But, if you're a leader, if you're a good agent, that's not going to go away. What you need to do now is look for short-term opportunities because we can't plan 2 years out because we don't know what's going to be happening. So what you need to look at is how can you tweak your tactics to fit this particular environment. And I love this next suggestion. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. And what it was, so say that you're planning to do you were planning to do a client appreciation event. Well, you can't do it live. If you do, you can't do it face to face where everybody's together because of social distancing and, still, lockdowns and stuff. But one that Women Today suggested, you could do it as a drive-through event where you could have people get together, come by in cars. And Greg, you did something like this, or you were planning doing something like this with a local pizza company, right?
Yeah. So, what we did is that there was a local pizza place called Primo's here in a city called Danville. And I met with the owner, Drew, had a great conversation with him. And I said, man, I would love to, help out the local community. What can you offer? And he's like, well, we do a buy one, get one free. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, well, anything that you buy, we'll match it on par or go lower. So if you want extra large and then a second medium or a second extra large, whatever it is, no cost. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And so I took it upon myself and my one of my buddies, and Jake and I built out an 18,000 person drip campaign for local residents going, hey guys, what we're going to do is we want to give back to the community. If you go down to Primo's in Danville, you can order it, take it out, eat in, which means eat on the patio, or have it delivered through a car service. You order one pizza, we'll throw in a second one for free, so you can put some extra food in the refrigerator, or you can help a neighbor in need.
Okay, I want to shift gears now. Valerie Alexander did every time I hear this woman speak, it's just like, it's so phenomenal. She's covered so many things. My favorite topic that she does is how men and women's brains are different. And Greg and I should have, I think we'll have to do that. But she did a session called Creating Happiness. But what she was saying, she was talking about how neural pathways are laid down. And these are, the more that you practice doing something, if you think about learning to ride a bike, how hard that was when you first started, but then how second nature it becomes once you've done it. And, if you're doing Peloton every day now, then you're like, you've got very strong neural pathways on that. But what she said is repetition builds the pathway, we know, and she called that a signal booster. And what she says is when you're feeling unhappy, again, going back to mother can only do one thing at a time. She says, identify 5 things that make you happy in the moment. So what are 5 things that make you happy right now, Greg?
I have no shoes or socks on. I'm wearing shorts. I have my windows open. I have fresh air. And I'm going to eat lunch in a minute that I made.
Now, those are the kinds of simple things. It doesn't have to be, some big goal. It's just something, hey, I'm happy right now. We've got a major thunderstorm going on and my electricity's still on and my internet's still on. So that's good. And I had a great time at WomanUP. And I'm going to kick back and relax this evening with my husband and enjoy the night. So this is like, I'm just like, okay, simple stuff. The notion here is identify what makes you happy. This disrupts unhappiness. Those 2 things cannot exist side by side in your brain. Greg, how many times have you heard somebody say, I didn't get anything done today?
More often than I would like to count, Bernice.
Well, Valerie Alexander talked about this, and she said what you need to do is to write down the one thing you absolutely have to do. This is like Brian Tracy's book, Eat That Frog, that one nasty thing that you need to do, but it can be anything. But it's one thing that you absolutely wanted to get done. Write it down either the night before or at the beginning of the day and put it on a Post-it note. And then stick the Post-it note on your computer, wherever you want to. And when you accomplish that thing, then you put it into it could be an empty cup, an empty jar, it could be a glass, put it in there. And then at the end of the day, take it out of the jar, crumple it up and throw it away. So the jar is now empty for tomorrow. But what that does, when you crumple it up and throw it away, you're done with it.
Yeah, it's an important thing. I did a similar thing with my buyers. I would do that. I would crumple up the showing sheets and throw them away, throw them in the back seat when they said, well, I don't like this house. I said, good, take it, crumple it, throw it. And it gives the brain that conclusion of like, okay, that task is done. This home is over. Whatever that thing, it is no longer in my existence and in my realm, it is gone. And it brings an odd calmness around that event, even if you didn't want to do it. So maybe you're trying to lose weight, get more clients, whatever it is. If you're going to go to the run, hit the gym, do the prospecting calls. But once you get it done, you're like, it wasn't so bad. Okay, now on for the rest of the day. It's a very powerful technique. I highly recommend you guys try it.
This is great. And I love this again. The next time you want to say, I didn't get anything done today, generally you probably got a lot. I don't know any successful realtor that doesn't get a lot done every day.
True that.
Yeah. Now I have 3 different little changes in wording, and I loved these 3 words. One of the things, and there was a lot of discussion at WomanUP of women who had been through who have experienced very bad diagnoses in terms of their health or in their family, their family members who have been through, all kinds of issues. Mm-hmm. And one of them suggested that you change the word illness, change the I in illness to the word we for wellness. And that's how others, allowing others to support us and also giving support to others. So change the I in illness, which is going it alone, to the we, which is wellness, facing it with support, from others. And experience, she says, experience the fear and release it. One of my other favorites was the word impossible. It's impossible for me to do this. And I love this change. You want to separate that into 2 words. The words are I'm possible instead of impossible. I know Tammy Bonell talks about this quite a bit. And then the final one is, right now with the pandemic, is instead of just saying I'm a survivor, I'm going to survive. If you're facing an illness, I will survive. But one of the speakers said, change survive to sur-thrive.
I love that.
It is a huge takeaway. And I think that's a great way for us to end. Greg, I'm going to give you final takeaway for today.
Guys, as always, as you watch this, hopefully you take some action on this. Hope you change your mindset. Use those little verbiage twists in your personal business and in your professional business. Watch how your mindset changes for the positive. Like Bernice said, light and dark cannot occupy the same space. So which one are you going to allow in your life? It is your choice. Take action today.
Yeah, we don't need any more Twinkies, right?
No more Twinkies. This is a Twinkie-free zone, okay? So put it down.
So thanks everyone for being with us today. We'll see you next time.